My first time in London. I will never forget the first time I visited London. It was one of the most exciting experiences of my life. For many years, I had dreamed of visiting London. I saw pictures of the city in books, movies, and on the internet. I wanted to see the famous red buses, the beautiful streets, and the historic buildings. Finally, one summer, my dream came true. The journey was long because I traveled from Vietnam. During the flight, I felt excited and a little nervous. I looked out of the airplane window and imagined what London would be like. When the plane landed at Heathrow Airport, I felt amazed. Everything looked different from my hometown. The weather was cool and fresh. The sky was gray, but I liked it because it gave the city a special feeling. On my first day, I took the London Underground, which people often call the Tube. At first, I was confused because there were many lines and stations. I was afraid of getting lost. Luckily, a kind woman helped me find the correct train. That was my first impression of Londoners. They seemed busy, but many of them were friendly and willing to help. The next morning, I visited Big Ben. I had seen it in many photos, but seeing it in real life was completely different. The clock tower was much bigger than I expected. I stood there for several minutes, simply looking at it and taking pictures. After that, I walked along the River Thames. The river was beautiful, and I could see many famous places nearby. There were tourists from different countries everywhere. Some people were taking photos, while others were enjoying a boat ride. One of my favorite experiences was riding a red double-decker bus. I sat on the top floor near the front window. From there, I could see the streets, shops, and people walking below. It felt like I was in a movie. Another memorable place was Buckingham Palace. I watched the changing of the guard ceremony. The guards wore their traditional uniforms and tall black hats. Many tourists gathered there to watch. The atmosphere was exciting and cheerful. Of course, not everything was perfect. One afternoon, it started raining heavily while I was walking. I did not have an umbrella, so I became completely wet. At first, I felt upset. However, I later laughed about it because everyone told me that rain is a normal part of life in London. Food was also an interesting experience. I tried fish and chips for the first time. The fish was crispy, and the fries were delicious. I also visited small cafes where I enjoyed hot tea and cakes. Sitting by the window and watching people pass by was very relaxing. What impressed me most was the mix of old and new. In one street, I could see a historic church that was hundreds of years old. Nearby, there were modern buildings made of glass and steel. London felt like a city where history and the future lived together. As my trip came to an end, I felt sad because I did not want to leave. There were still many places I wanted to visit. However, I was grateful for every moment I spent there. When I returned home, I brought back many photos and souvenirs. More importantly, I brought back wonderful memories. My first visit to London taught me that traveling is not only about seeing new places. It is also about meeting new people, learning different cultures, and discovering more about yourself. Even today, whenever I see a picture of London, I smile and remember that unforgettable journey. I hope that one day I can return and explore the city again.